What up, people? A couple months ago, I made a video showcasing some of the hidden gems on the 3DS. The eShop was closing down, so I wanted to recommend some games to people that may have been missed. And since it seemed like people really enjoyed that video, I thought it would be fun to talk about some of the games on the Switch that may have floated under the radar. While my channel primarily focuses on RPGs, I included other genre games just to have more variety on my list. So, with all that out of the way, here are 10 must-buy hidden gems on the Nintendo Switch. First on the list, we have Dandara Trials of Fear Edition. Initially released exclusively for mobile, it was then released on all platforms in 2018. Dandara is an action platformer Metrovania style game where instead of running and jumping, moving is only possible by going from platform to platform, which are indicated by white surfaces. Throughout your playthrough of the game, Dandara can acquire power-ups. There are two main kinds of power-ups: consumables like Essence and Infusion of Salt, and permanent upgrades like Johnny B missiles and Logic Blast. If you die, you lose all your salt and return back to the last camp you rested at. You'll then have to get back to where you died to retrieve it, and if you die before you get to it, it'll be lost forever. Compared to the mobile game, the Trials of Fear version comes with some major additions, such as a new focus on story, which I'll always appreciate, new areas to explore, new powers to use, more music, a secret ending, and plenty of quality of life updates. The average playtime for this game is about 7 to 12 hours, so if you're looking for a short action platformer to play with some amazing pixel graphics, then Dandara Trials of Fear Edition is definitely a game to consider. While we're talking about pixel art games, next up we have one of my personal favorites on the list, and that's Coromon. Released in March of last year, Coromon is a turn-based monster taming game similar to that of Pokemon, but where Coromon differs is its combat system. Coromon, similar to games like Temtem and Nexomon, use stamina or SP to use moves as opposed to Pokemon, which have a varied number of uses. The stronger a move, the more stamina it costs, and therefore will make your SP go down faster. If you run out of SP, you can skip a turn or rest, which will bring back half of your SP. You can also rest at any time to prevent yourself from running out. This stamina system leads to battle being more challenging, yet never feeling too daunting or difficult. Also, there's no gym leaders in this game. Instead, you'll have 6 Titan battles, which are pretty much just boss battles that are tied to the main story and can be very difficult if not prepared. While playing the game, one of the things that stood out to me personally was how good the designs for a lot of the Coromon are. I can't speak for others, but good or bad monster designs can really make or break a monster taming game for me. The gameplay can be challenging and amazing, but if you don't like how the monsters you're catching look, who cares? If you're someone who prefers the Pokemon entries from the old Game Boy days, but want some modern features and quality of life enhancements, then Coromon was literally made for you. Keeping up with the Game Boy aesthetic, next we have Dark Deity. After a successful Kickstarter and Steam release in 2021, it was then brought over to Switch in March of last year. Dark Deity is a strategic RPG made for fans of the old school Fire Emblem games. Just like Fire Emblem, the game consists of moving units around on a grid-based battlefield. The game has 4 weapon categories, which are Power, Finesse, Focus, and Balance. Characters utilize an advantage system where they all carry 4 different weapons that target different enemy weaknesses. These weapons can be upgraded using class tokens, which is essential for the game. Weapons have 4 tiers that require different rarities of tokens to upgrade. Upgrading a weapon twice will advance it to the next tier. When characters are defeated in battle, they remain playable, but gain a permanent wound that costs them a random stat point. This still punishes players for permanently losing a character, but lets players decide to continue fighting if they decide that the trade-off is worth it. Due to the lower penalty for losing units, the game remains challenging without feeling overly punishing. When it comes to Fire Emblem, the support conversation is one of my favorite aspects of the game. I love seeing units bond and see how their relationships grow over time, which is why the supports in Dark Deity feel a little flat to me. A lot of them were either very basic or just not that interesting at all. Now, to be fair, I haven't gotten that far in the game, so maybe they get better as more units are introduced, but for what I've seen, I wasn't very excited to see more. However, similar to Coromon, if you're in the market for a new strategy RPG with a classic old school look, Dark Deity will be a solid pickup, especially if you can catch it on a sale. Another strategy game I wanted to mention is Brigadine Legend of Runeterra. To give a very lazy comparison, think Fire Emblem with a little bit of Digimon. The game is a sequel to the 1998 PlayStation game and features the same core gameplay as the first, but with a new setting. You'll choose one of 6 nations of the continent of Runeterra, and you must guide it to conquer the others and unify the land using powerful rune knights and their summoned monsters. Rune Knights and their monsters confront enemy troops in turn-based battles, with the outcome deciding who controls a given castle. To win a battle and occupy and defend a castle, the player must either defeat all enemy Rune Knights and force them to retreat, or overwhelm the enemy to the extent that they voluntarily withdraw to avoid further damage. Both monsters and Rune Knights have hit points and mana pools and can become stronger by leveling up by gaining experience with the use of various skills and spells. One thing that might be a negative for some is that the game doesn't have any English audio. There's subtitles of course, but the game is only in Japanese. That doesn't affect the quality of the game, but it's something I feel like I should mention. Another thing is that this game has a lot of gameplay mechanics and features to remember, and I mean a lot. I think the tutorial took me over an hour or more to get through. This isn't really a pick up and play type of game. If you start playing this game, it should probably be your main focus. Also, this game rarely goes on sale. Like, I'm checking Deku Deals right now, and it's only been on sale 12 times in the past 3 years. So if you can catch this on a sale for like 25 bucks, just pick it up. But putting those few negatives aside, if you're looking for a deep and fulfilling strategy RPG with multiple stories dealing with politics and war, maybe give this game a shot. At number 6, we have Road 96. This game is an interactive decision-based game and is played in first person. The gameplay will have you assume the role of several teenage hitchhikers attempting to flee the authoritative nation of Petria without being arrested or killed. Each time your character succeeds or fails at crossing the border, they assume control of a new teenager attempting to cross the border. Each crossing attempt advances the overarching story arc of the campaign, culminating in a finale set on September 9th, which is Petria's election day. Decisions made by the player during previous attempts are reflected and referenced during each new attempt. The best part about this game to me is how different your playthrough will be compared to everyone else's. It gives you a fun problem to have where after you make a big decision on where to go or who to go with, it makes you wonder what you're missing out on. But that just gives you a reason to replay the game again. If you're someone like me who loves decision-based games but want to feel like your choices are actually unique, Road 96 definitely delivers. For all you cozy game lovers, next we have Let's Build a Zoo. Released on consoles in September of last year, the purpose of this simulation game is to create the best and most profitable zoo you can. Import and breed rare creatures, hire the right staff, keep your visitors happy, and deal with plenty of weird and wonderful events. And maybe try your hand at DNA splicing and stitch together over 300,000 different types of animals. One of the more unique mechanics in this game is the morality system that it uses. Let's Build a Zoo uses a morality system where certain choices can earn positive or negative morality points, which may influence the behavior and appearance of certain characters, zoo buildings, and what actions can be taken during quest lines. For instance, treating your employers and animals well will give you good morality points, while DNA splicing and euthanizing animals will give you bad morality. Also, an important note, the game doesn't really lean you to the good side either. They literally just let you decide for yourself. The game takes about 40 hours on average to get through, and the game is constantly on sale for about 10 bucks, so it's really a good bang for your buck. The adorable animals mixed with the beautiful pixel graphic aesthetic makes for a very charming and relaxing pick up and play game that I feel is worth your time, even if you're new to the genre. Next up on the list, we have Shadowverse Champions Battle. Okay, look, I know, listen, hear me out. I'm not a huge card game guy, but I bought this game on a whim as a throw-in during the GameStop bundle sale, and it's actually more enjoyable than I thought it would be. The game itself is pretty fun, and many who have played the game says it reminds them of Yu-Gi-Oh!, so maybe that's a plus for some of you. But it was the RPG elements of the game that really sold me. Leveling up through card battles, which in turn gives you new cards as well as money to go and buy even more cards from vending machines, is very addicting and will keep you playing more and more matches. Also, there's 7 card factions in the game, each with their own playstyles, and finding the playstyle that works for you is very satisfying. The story has been fairly entertaining as well. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing amazing, but it's good enough. If you look at it like a standard anime, you might enjoy it. The main campaign will take you about 28 hours to get through and over 120 hours to 100% the game, so yeah, it has a lot to do. Okay, so look, I know this might be a tough sell, but if you've ever been interested in the card game genre, this lighthearted RPG might be the best and most fun way to get into it. Next up is a game that hopefully won't be as tough of a sell, and that's Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. This visual novel is literally how it sounds. You play as Jill, a bartender, and the gameplay consists of you making your regular customers drinks and listening to them talk about how their day is going, good or bad. Outside of the great music you get to set up before each shift, the thing that made me hold this game in such high regard is the characters. It's not that they're necessarily the best written characters ever, but them coming into the bar night after night, I became more invested in their stories and got excited when certain characters would show up. Speaking of stories, there's over 6 endings to this game, so a good excuse to replay the game a couple times. I know visual novels aren't everyone's thing, but Valhalla is one of the most relaxing and immersive gaming experiences I've ever had, and I can't recommend it enough. At number 2, we have Iconoclast. Released on the Switch in 2018, this open world platformer has you playing as Robin, a mechanic. Gameplay consists of a mixture of exploring, fighting enemies, and solving environmental puzzles using Robin's tools. Robin will gain a lot of her tools throughout the course of the game, each having uses for combat and puzzles. The wrench is a melee weapon that is also used to turn bolts, grapple, and later electrify Robin and other tools and objects. The stun gun can fire single shots and charge shots and can destroy some obstacles. The roller bomb shot fires projectile timed explosives or charged missile shots and can destroy some objects and can be electrified. The usurper shot fires piercing beams and a charge shot that causes Robin to exchange places with certain objects and enemies it hits. While playing, you're running the treasure chest, which will have materials that will allow Robin to craft tweaks, which provide small gameplay bonuses such as increased melee damage, faster running speed, or unique abilities. Tweaks can only be equipped at save points. One tweak becomes broken whenever Robin takes damage, and each tweak must be repaired by filling a gauge before becoming active again. Iconoclast received an 87 on Metacritic, with fans praising its visuals, characters, and story. With there being a lot of Metroidvania-style games out there, the genre can sometimes feel bloated and oversaturated. But with that said, Iconoclast is one that should be on the top of your list to play. And last on the list, we have Crosscode. The game is an action RPG and is constantly compared to 2D Zelda games because of its puzzles and various dungeons. As Leia, a mute who lost her memory, you'll be exploring the fictional MMORPG known as Crossworlds to try and regain your memory. And as her memory returns, a deep mystery surrounding Crossworlds will be unraveled. Crosscode's combat system involves attacking enemies in real time using either a melee strike or a ranged ball launch. Players can also dodge or block enemy counterattacks, and attacking earns experience points and circuit points. Experience points increase the player's stats, and circuit points can be spent on a circuit board that allows the player to choose between different ability bonuses. During combat, the player has a rank which increases until they end or run from battle, rewarding them for continuous combat. Higher ranks let the player gain rare items and heal faster. When engaging in combat and solving puzzles, the player can instantaneously switch between different elements, each granting Leia different puzzle solving and attack abilities. As the game progresses, the player unlocks more elements by visiting different dungeons, each of which culminates in a boss fight. Back when I played the game, the combat outside of the dungeons is what I enjoyed the most. The combat in the game was very fast and fluid and never felt too chaotic, at least not for me. No matter how much stuff was happening on screen, it always felt manageable, if that makes any sense. Crosscode could take anywhere from 35 to 75 hours depending on how much of the game you want to see. And even though this game doesn't go on sale pretty often, I don't think you'll regret picking it up full price. When it comes to combat, story, visuals, and music, Crosscode is firing on all cylinders. I'm not sure if it counts as a hidden gem or not, but what I am sure of is that this is the one game on this list that you'll definitely regret not adding to your Nintendo Switch library. Alright, that's all I got for you today. What hidden gems would you recommend for the Switch? Let me know in the comments. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with the channel. Later.